Fansville Advantage presented by Dr. Pepper. This is when we look ahead to next week. Obviously, there's a huge game next weekend. Carson Beck and the Dogs head to Tuscaloosa for a top 5 matchup against Jalen Milroe and the Tide. The first game in this rivalry for Kalen DeBoer, so it's huge. Guess who we have here now? It is the one, the only, and hot pink. I love this for you.
Panelist.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh, and your lips match your dress. I love it. Okay, so Jen Lada is here. What did you make of Georgia's game last week against Kentucky?
Yeah, Kentucky had a really good game plan, right? The idea was to control the clock, stay on the field as long as possible. I think I saw that a few Georgia defensive linemen were on for 50-plus snaps. So that was a good way to kind of control the tempo of the game. Now, Georgia still didn't allow a touchdown in that one, so obviously it went the way that Georgia wanted. But if you don't think that Kirby Smart was after those guys this week, the tackling by Georgia was unimpressive. I think I saw 15 missed tackles. So there's nothing Kirby Smart likes more than a week to really get after his guys. I imagine those practices were real tough. But look, I'm not worried about Georgia. They're one of those teams that sort of starts slow, warms up. You know they'll be there at the end. And Alabama's going to have their hands full with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like we thought that Georgia was just invincible, but we did see that they were human last week.
So the way that I sort of view this is because I'm from Atlanta. I grew up watching every single Georgia game because it was what was on television. The thing with this Georgia team that is different under Kirby Smart than previous regimes, they win these games. Like, this is a game before Kirby, they lose that Kentucky game. Last year, it was the South Carolina game. In 2022, it was the Missouri game. And, I mean, those are still good teams. Every game that you play in the SEC is tough. The difference with this Georgia team is they actually sneak those out now.
Yeah.
Right? Because Kentucky's not a bad football team.
No.
But
they like to run the ball, though, right? And so if you're Alabama, Harry, do you see Alabama being like, look, we saw a blueprint for how you can at least threaten Georgia.
Yeah.
That might be something they try to take advantage of.
Absolutely. And look, they're the only team that's been able to get their number. I mean, they got them last year.
Right.
Right? And I still believe, and this is why I think Florida State was such a snub. If we're doing the 4 best teams, you telling me you watched 13 games of Georgia last year and they weren't one of the 4 best teams?
That's true.
You know what I mean? So, look, this Alabama team, I know we have the man here now, right, that is responsible for this incredible dynasty, the greatest dynasty that our sport has ever seen. That is still an incredibly talented team with a very talented and intelligent coach. So I think this matchup is going to be intense.
Let's talk about their receivers, because obviously Alabama churns them out like crazy. Ryan Williams has been huge for them. What have you seen out of him so far?
Oh my gosh. Can we just talk about how this dude is 17 years
I know.
old?
Just got his license. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that, to think about that perspective.
That's actually a crazy thing to think about,
And just from an emotional maturity standpoint, right? I have a 15-year-old at home, okay? They ain't that emotionally mature. You know what I mean? So, like, the fact that this kid is out there, not just on the top stage, but playing in the SEC and playing well and producing for them and finding the end zone, like every layer of that, guys, you cannot say enough about.
He plays like he's like a 5th year, transferred twice, COVID year. Like, he plays like he is a senior. It's just so impressive. One thing I love about him, absolutely not football related, he lets his 13-year-old sister paint his nails. They're currently green because they matched, I believe, some suit he was wearing last week.
Oh, I love that.
So, we've seen players that paint their nails. Caleb Williams, very successful. So obviously this young man is in for a great career.
Okay, so let's talk about how hard it is to play in Tuscaloosa, because we've been there before.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Texas, Alabama last year. What do you expect out of the crowd and just the atmosphere that they're going to have to face next
week?
Well,
it's a night game.
Hey, right. And that makes a world of difference. Like, and it's funny because obviously when we go there for game day, they're used to us being there. They know when they got to conserve their energy.
Right.
They save it for Bryant Denny.
Right.
Like that place is just, it's a different atmosphere. Again, we talked about it earlier in the show. In the SEC, like, this is part of the fabric of your life. If you lose a game, it ruins the rest of your weekend and potentially the rest of your year.
Yeah.
So you're going to see that in the crowd, especially as we renew this rivalry in the regular season, because usually we don't see this until December.
That's true. You almost said it just means more again. What do you expect to see?
I said it on purpose the first time.
He said it already. He almost said it. He said
that. Tape back. What are we talking about here?
But big matchup, obviously.
I just assume they want us to say that. It just means more. It just means more. I'm sure Greg Sankey's all like, yes. Counting us.
Counting.
Exactly. Huge game, obviously. You can't overstate how, and you mentioned it being early in the year. I think there is something about some of these programs where the further along you get in the season, the more you're clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
I'm sure these guys would prefer to see each other later on, closer to the SEC title game and whatnot. But like, this is going to be a test for both of them. And I think that Kalen DeBoer, look, we have the utmost respect for him. We saw what he was able to do at Washington. This is a whole new animal, right? Playing in his first SEC game, there's going to be some nerves there, I think, from the coach, from the players, you know, who are going to be handling that. Thankfully, they're at home, so I feel like that gives them a little bit of an advantage there. But man, buckle up because it'll be a good one.
Yeah, I like that
so
point
fun.
about the nerves though, because has there been a more pressure job than following that guy up?
Insane.
No.
Insane.
You know, I mean, even if you are at home, still, man, that's different.
Yeah, so this will be a true test, obviously, for him and that squad. Dr. Pepper is making college dreams come true with the 2024 Dr. Pepper tuition giveaway. Visit drpeppertuition.com to learn how to enter for a chance to compete to win up to $100,000.